Today I'm going to fly this Hobbyking Reno Racer Lucky Gallon. It's the latest release from their Racer series. It's a hand launch model. So let's head outside and fly this Lucky Gallon. So thankfully this hand launch went okay. I'm always a little bit scared when I have to hand launch an RC airplane. You never know what to expect. So today I have some wind coming from my left side, and I have a 4S 2200 milliamp Spektrum Smart battery inside. I pushed it almost all the way forward. And this Lucky Gallon, it is quite agile. It's not as agile as my FMS Corsair. But still you can just toss this one around in the air and do all sorts of stuff with it. So as with many of these kind of smaller RC airplanes, they really do not fly super scale, as they are, being tossed around a little bit too much from the elements, and also your stick input. So you have to be really smooth in order to avoid them not looking scale. Then again, I think this one you can get away with doing almost anything. And it will still look good. I think if you do these kind of aerobatics with a kind of commercial RC airplane, it looks kind of odd. But some planes you can just go fly them any way you like, and it still looks good. I think this colors on this RC airplane look really beautiful. It's a really cool designed RC airplane. And it also does inverted really well. Doesn't drop. I don't need to use too much elevator to have it flying level. You can also go quite docile. Doesn't appear to have any worrying bad stall behavior, at least. It is fairly lightweight. And one interesting thing about this one, as I've discovered, is that actually when you do push 100% throttle, it doesn't feel like the last bit of power actually gives you more speed, just more prop noise. So maybe this plane could gain on having a little bit more bite on the prop, I don't know. So whatever I do, it just keeps up this Lucky Gallon. And it does feel really rock steady when you fly it. No bad flying behavior whatsoever. I had a few flights prior to this flight, and the only problem I had was actually to make a good hand launch. Now I admit that I'm not too great at doing hand launch, less to do it than by myself. But other than that, I think it's just a fantastic flying RC airplane. And I set the timer for 6 minutes. And I think that if you would fly this one really docile, I think you could do at least 7 minutes without any problems on a 2200 milliamp battery. So all in all, I mean, it's a great flying RC airplane. It looks super interesting. Really beautiful colors. Time to get this one down. I think it will be really easy just to drop it and flare at the end, and then I'm on the ground again. I really like the Corsair inverted gull wing, and this is just that. It's an inverted gull wing, but in a civilian racing trim scheme on this RC airplane. And I've actually done a pilot inside, so I've glued this one in because this one does come with this clear canopy, and then you have like a silver piece also. So it's a great thing. You can configure it as you'd like. It's also really easy to assemble. You have like one screw for the main wing, one for the rear stabilizer, and you have to put in the prop and also your own receiver, because this is a P&P version. So inside then I have an AR630 receiver, and that's it, more or less. And then this one runs on a 4S 2200 milliamp battery, so the battery is all the way forward. And I mean, I had a really fun time flying this one, and I pushed it because it is a racer RC airplane, and all of these kind of warbird designs, I think they're just meant to go crazy and just push them full throttle and loop and roll and whatnot. But I also had some problems with this RC airplane. So, and it is due to hand launching. So on some hand launching, it just been going great. The plane just took off in a nice level manner. But then on some occasions, I just had a really odd behavior, and I've actually crashed this one. So I mean, I have a few compression marks on this side of the wing, and also on the cowl section. I think there is like a missing piece in this plastic part, and of course I did break the prop as well. And what I can say about this foam, it does rub off really easy. So if you just have something going against it, the paint just rubs off. So I have a few places over here, and if you look underneath, I think it's actually fine. This part just when I crashed this one. But I mean, I really dig this trim skin. It looks just fantastic when it flies, and it's also something different from most of our other RC airplanes. So this looked like a really vintage RC airplane, and I liked all these vintage RC airplanes, like the Slowpoke, for instance. I think they look really great. And I mean, this one is also really, when you have a good hand launch, it is really well behaved. It's not over controlled. I would actually prefer a little bit more control on this one, because I could compare this one to my FMS Corsair 800mm, which is a little bit smaller. And of course I do have some modifications on my Corsair, but the Corsair is just super snappy and fun to fly. And it's also actually easier to hand launch. It's more steady. So I don't know if it is I'm having a little bit more too much power, so this one will torque on hand launch, or if it's just sensitive in some way, because I had this crash and then I just took off and took a nosedive to the left. So I mean, that surely could have been some torque issue. But I mean, as far as flying this one, I think you can go quite docile and slow. It is also really easy to land. You more or less just glide and flare at the end. Of course, it actually will stall if you flare too much with too low airspeed. So, I mean, I could of course compare this one. So, one of my favorite in this size is of course the FMS Corsair 800mm. But then again, I think this one looks better than the Corsair. And if you compare this one then to the larger E-flite 1.2, which is about to be re-released, I think the larger Corsair just flies fantastic, especially on 4S. And it's also really docile RC airplane with great things like flaps and retracts. But I mean, I always have a thing for these inverted gull wing RC airplanes. And I will surely probably just push this one and hopefully sort out my hand launching abilities, because I'm all by myself when I'm doing this. So of course it would be better to have a second person just helping me. But I mean, the greatest thing about this one is actually the design, and that it's a good flying RC airplane once you get it up in the air. I think you can have really speedy flybys and not too snappy aerobatics, but it does great to flying inverted, just super controlled, and it looks really fantastic with this like yellow and red also. So I mean, it's probably one of my more interesting looking RC airplanes in this Hobbyking Lucky Gallon.